The Crypto Markets Update is presented by Grayscale, the world's largest digital currency asset manager. Well, the crypto markets are perking up with the beginning of the North American trading day. Checking in on Bitcoin, the CoinDesk Bitcoin price XBX index is trading at $68,661, up about 1% over the past 24 hours. And the CoinDesk Ether price ETX index is at 48.44. ETH is up about 0.8%, and the new DFX CoinDesk DeFi index is trading at 668 points, though taking a bit of a retreat at down 1.2%. Joining us now to discuss the crypto markets is Edward Moya, Senior Market Analyst at Oanda. Hello there, Edward. Thanks for joining us. So, taking a look at Bitcoin and the crypto markets, a very incredible all-time high run these past few days. But now we're taking a bit of a, well, it's going pretty flat. Do you see it range bound in the short term or further break a ways ahead?
Well, I think right now the market is right now having a major reset, and I think you have to take a look at what happened last week. And when Wall Street was positioning how to invest for the rest of the year, there was this belief that you needed inflation hedges. And I think a lot of investors thought, though, we were going to start to see inflation peak. And for much of the active money that is new to Bitcoin, you saw some hesitancy that we could be at a near top. And this morning we got a very hot inflation report. Inflation's at a 30-year high. The risks that the Fed is making a policy mistake are growing, and you're probably going to see, I think, further momentum in the short term. I think you should probably see a test at some point this week above 70,000, but I think it'll be a little bit difficult to break much further from there. I think you'll probably see a consolidation between 65 and possibly 75,000 until year end. And I think as inflation worries grow, that will actually become a negative for Bitcoin, because what's going to happen is you're going to be approaching year end, and all of Wall Street wants to show that they were profitable in trading cryptos. And with Bitcoin up over 120%, Ethereum up over 550, I think, you're probably going to see some decent profit taking. So I think that is going to be a big risk that you're going to have in the short term. But the bigger story is inflation. If we get a few more months of hot inflation reports, you're going to see, I think, some panic selling. And a lot of that will typically, when we have a major risk reversal on Wall Street, because Bitcoin has been one of the most profitable trades out there, you'll probably see, I think, some weakness. So I think at some point within the next few months, you'll have a decent pullback, maybe 10 or possibly 20%. But then I think ultimately the long-term bullish trend will reassert itself.
So Bitcoin recently has seemed rather immune to some of the factors that used to bring the price down. Like, for example, China, right? It used to be that there was a Chinese crackdown and it would sort of, temporarily really affect the price. It didn't really apply to China. Then we had this, so-called disastrous infrastructure bill, and Bitcoin obviously didn't care about that either. So, just aside from this, the inflation concerns that you mentioned, what are some factors that could potentially bring Bitcoin's price down? I mean, what could cause a correction in the market? Because the things that used to do it don't seem to really apply anymore.
Well, I think one of the bigger concerns was that we were going to have massive regulation with stable coins. And I think there is some optimism growing that is not going to be the case. So I think that was kind of one of the key risks that were on the table. As far as exiting China, China has been trying to get rid of Bitcoin for many years now. And I think the market has fully been prepared that that is going to happen, and eventually the Chinese will make it illegal to hold Bitcoin. But I think now you've seen a successful migration away out of China, and there is tremendous interest still that is happening right now. I think as far as people reaching out to me that are diehard equities options traders, they're now getting into cryptos, and it's all been very recent. So I think there's still tremendous interest that's happening, and you're probably going to have, I think, more investors. They're going to look at it at the end of the year. It's going to be the third year in a row when you're having cryptos as the best performing asset. And people are going to have to ask themselves, why am I not investing a low single digit percentage of my trading portfolio in it? And if you continue to see that progress, I think there is still tremendous upside, because relative to other markets, the crypto market is still relatively small.
I have to push back a little bit on this idea that there'll be profit taking before the end of the year, only because wouldn't a lot of these institutional players want to have essentially window dressing, right? We have the next inflation report's coming out a month from now. It'll be the last one of the year. For all we know, it could probably be just as hot as today's numbers were. Wouldn't it make sense for these guys to say, look, I need to have Bitcoin, I need to have other crypto on my portfolio now, because when December 31st comes, I want to show that I held it at a time when inflation is up. Wouldn't that actually bode fairly bullish for crypto rather than people taking profits? Isn't that going to outweigh any profit taking?
Well, I think you have to take a look at where people's expectations are with inflation. And right now, we've seen many consecutive months of surging pricing pressures. And this was the first month where a lot of people were starting to pay attention to earnings season. And you were getting a lot of mixed messages from CEOs saying that, no, we're able to handle the pricing pressures. No, we're starting to see them moderate. So the transitory argument is actually still, I think, the playbook right now. And if you're Wall Street, and if you think that these pricing pressures are starting to ease, then you're going to have a major reaction on with every inflation hedge. So I think that you're probably going to have more cautiousness. I know this inflation report, it kind of catches your attention, 30-year high in prices, but I think there is a lot of traders that are anticipating that this is going to start to wane. And if that's the case, you're probably going to have, I think, a good amount of Wall Street is going to make that bet. And that's why I think you could see profit taking go into year end. Possibly that could be accelerated after the next inflation report.
We've had those several months of surprise inflation, and there is a change in attitude from a lot of people, at least institutionally, that hey, this might not be transitory. This might have kind of overshot the expectations of what a rebound would look like. So I mean. At what point do we say, hey, you know what, the profit taking that could have happened already happened, and that going forward, if there's one more surprise number, it will come out in the middle of December. There might be some more enthusiasm for, or rather, some more bullishness of inflation, if you will. So people will want to keep this at least till December 31st, just to show that they're on the ball with it. I mean, do we have any sense of how the institutions are actually playing this?
Well, I think we have to take a look at a lot of these institutions are underperforming the S&P 500, and that is one of the reasons why I think you're going to see profit taking. They're going to have to They're going to have some profitable trades to close out the year to beat that performance, and they're going to lose investors if they're not outperforming the S&P 500. This has been a fairly one-way trade, and I think a lot of people were miscalculating the inflation trade, and I think that you're probably going to see there are a lot of people that are long-term betting Bitcoin. The whale alerts, you can see that a lot of that money is holding. They're not budging. They're looking to see Bitcoin above 100,000 before they might consider doing something. But I think a lot of this money is now becoming very active. And I think a lot of people are anticipating December is going to be one of the most volatile months of the year. So I think you have all this nervousness that's brewing. And I think right now, the trade right now on Wall Street is no one wants to touch fixed income. No one understands what is going to happen with the curve. Why is it flattening? How it's going to react after every inflation report or jobs report. And now you're probably going to see that volatility is going to be elevated. And I think right now, for a lot of people, they are looking at end of year results, and that's why you're going to see some take some profit off. And I think one of the things that you're also having to notice on Wall Street is that the interest isn't purely on Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's starting to spread into these other altcoins, and I think that is one of the things that's making the continued surge higher here for Bitcoin a little bit harder. I think the outlook is still bullish, but I think it's going to be a lot harder as investors are starting to embrace some of these other top blockchain cryptocurrencies, and you're probably going to see the market space is going to grow, and I think that's great for the cryptoverse. But I think the movement for Bitcoin, it's going to be a lot harder to go higher, and I think that diversification trade is going to remain in place.